Hey everyone, welcome to Heavy Tones, the channel all about going low and heavy with guitar. And in this video, I want to take a look at how you can sound like nu metal. Now, nu metal is really a style that I enjoyed when I was growing up and when I started playing guitar. I really just took to it. Before this, I was tuning to E standard and drop D, but then when I started hearing those nu metal bands with that lower tuning that was really sludgy and muddy, I really took to it. And I loved everything about this style. The sound, the sort of culture, and everything that went with it. With your Adidas clothes, and I even sported dreadlocks for a bit. So I was really all in on nu metal. Now, in this video, I'm going to do a playthrough of a song, and then we're going to go into more detail and take a look at the production and how to get the tone. I'm using 3 different guitars for this playthrough. First, for the bass tone, I'm using my Squier Baritone Jazzmaster, and this is tuned to a low B, so it's the same B as a 5-string bass. Then I'm using my Ibanez MMM1, also tuned to drop B, and my Ibanez RG IB6, also tuned to drop B. And just a quick note before going through the playthrough. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel, I'd highly appreciate it, and click on that notification bell to be notified of future videos. So with that out the way, let's get into the playthrough. Okay, so now let's take a look at the production side of things. I'm working in Logic here, and I've got some drums, some bass, and some guitars. Starting off, some important elements with nu metal are having that sort of bouncy beat or bouncy groove. So taking a listen to this beat over here. So you really want that bouncing aspect. When you're listening to it, you want to feel like you want to bounce. That's really a key element in nu metal. Then going across onto the bass here, I've actually recorded, or I've got 3 different bass takes, and I've copied them across to 3 tracks. I've got the DR, where there really isn't much happening here. You've basically just got some compression and some EQ going on. Then I've got this bass that's using an amp summon. It's got an amp emulator of the Ampeg SVT. On this, I'm using STL Tonehub, and in there's a really cool patch of the SVT. So this is the SVT recorded with an AKG D112 mic, and that's the sound over here. And on this track over here, I'm using the DI signal, but I've also added an instance of BOD. So this is a very cool free plugin that emulates a SansAmp bass plugin. It's pretty low, but when you combine all the bass together, so it's quite saturated and distorted. Then with the drums, Now, moving on to the guitars. So with the guitars, I've got 3 tracks. I recorded 2 tracks of my MMM1 and then 1 track of the RGRB. With this, a common amp to use in the nu metal stage was the Mesa Boogie dual or triple rectifier. So on this track over here, I've added an instance of STL Tonehub, and this is using a dual rectifier patch. This is the loose patch for the high gain, and it's using an SM57 and a 421 microphone to mic up the cab, which is a Mesa Boogie 2x12 with V30s. And you've got this tone over here. I've just got it panned to the left, so I'll add it to the center. And I've added some EQ. This is just to boost the low end because you've got your low tuning and you just want to make or accentuate those lows. So you're boosting it out. I've done a slight cut at 600 Hertz, and then I've shelved off the high end. So this is it before. And then with the EQ. Similarly, on the guitar track on the right, I've added also a high gain amplifier, but this time it's in the form of the Diezel VH4. So this is using the Brainworx emulation plugin of this. It's using channel 3, and it sounds like this. I've done the same with the EQ, where I've boosted the lows and rolled off the highs. And we've got this now. Then with those 2 guitars together, then I've added a 3rd guitar track. This is my RGRB6, and on this I've also added an instance of the dual rectifier in Tonehub, and it's just a different guitar with a different pickup set, so you're getting a slightly different tone with it. Before the EQ, and then just rolling off that high end and cutting out the lows. So as you can hear, that nu metal tone is quite a heavy tone, but it's also quite muddy. That's what gives it its character. And I've used amp emulations and EQ settings to get that type of sound. So with all 3 guitars, you've got this. Now, another key element that was used in nu metal was using heavy modulation effects. So on these 2 guitar tracks over here, this one, I've got a phaser. And you're just using sort of dissonant notes and using phasers with fast rates. So with this, I've used THU, which is Overloud's THU amp emulation. And on here, I've also used a emulation of a dual rectifier, but in front of it, I've added a phaser plus a sort of fuzz face distortion fuzz pedal to sort of take that sound to another level. So here we go. I'm just going to play back that part over here, and you can hear it in action in isolation. And also other effects that were used quite heavily were like the Digitech whammy pedal. Here's an emulation of it over here. And if I go into my THU over here, you can see here's the whammy, and I've got the range set to 1 octave. So it's jumping up whatever I play an octave. And those sort of squelchy effects really work quite well just adding them into your production. So I've got it over here. And then I also add it to this part over here. So now taking a listen, I'm just going to play this part over here where you've got the guitars and then the heavy phaser and whammy effects on the guitars. Now, after covering all of this, let's just take a listen through the whole song again in context with what I've covered. Yes, you got your bass and groove, then with the guitars. Into the sort of verse section with your phaser and whammy. Then back into that sort of bounce riff. Sort of build up crescendo section here, and it hits. Coming up are some more whammies. So there you go. That's how to get some nu metal tones in your audio software. Great stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and now you've got a good understanding of how to get that nu metal tone in your productions. And like I mentioned in the beginning, if you like what you're seeing on this channel, please subscribe to it. I'd highly appreciate it. And leave any comments below on maybe future videos that you'd like to see or be covered. And then also click on that notification bell to be notified of new videos that pop up on my channel. Now get in there and start trying your own nu metal riffs and productions. Catch you in the next video.